while subject to change. That's what it says the last thing on one of the sites I go to check out information before I make these videos, these daily sneaker videos. At the very end it says these guys are due to drop on June the 22nd while subject to change. And that's the first time I've seen those words attached to a drop date. And it's what I've been talking about for a very, very long time. Well, a couple of months, about where I think the sneaker game's going and what I think this whole coronavirus situation is going to do to the sneaker game. I think it's going to affect drops. I think it's going to change drop dates. They're going to drop things later. Things are going to disappear from the calendar, and then something else is going to come in and take its place. And all of the drop dates and all of the plans that they had are going to go out the window. In fact, I think I talked about that when I was looking at the University Red, which is kind of ironic because there's a University Red in today's video, the University Red Dunk Lows, because to me that set of the Brazil, the University Red Dunk Lows, and actually it was the Champ Colors video, because that was the third of three. It was the final video in that set, and I was saying, you know, to me this is the last of the sort of regular drops that had been planned pre-coronavirus, and now we're going to start moving into an era where things are less certain, where we don't really know what's going on as much as we did before, where information comes and changes very, very quickly. And then here we are just a couple of days later, and look, exactly what I said would happen is happening. They're saying subject to change, because even the sites that always have the correct information are not sure they have it anymore, and they don't want to put on that this is going to drop on June 27th. Then Nike go ahead and move the drop date, and then they look a bit silly for saying that the drop date was what they thought it was. But apparently it is June the 7th. It's a drop date for both of these shoes, and in the lead up to that, as I do with the videos just about every single day, I do videos every day, and they're usually about upcoming drops. And in the case of today, it's these two sneakers. So let's get into it and take a close-up look at the upcoming release of the Nike Air Force 1 University Red and Black Sole. This is the Tokyo Bara 23 Sneaker Channel, Tokyo Bara 23 Sneaker Channel des. Mainichi absuru no de, mainichi mite kudasai. And every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And today what we're taking a look at is a set of two sneakers. They're basically identical sneakers with a different colorway on both, but very, very similar sneakers. And they're called the University Red and the Black Sole, but I'm not sure about that. Sometimes when I do these videos in advance, the actual name of the sneaker hasn't really gained widespread attention yet. And one being called University Red and the other one being called Black Sole doesn't really make much sense to me. So I'm not entirely sure what they're actually going to be called, but I do know what they look like. And I do know, like I said, they're scheduled to drop on June the 27th. So we'll get into it and have a look at that today. But for me, if we're looking at these guys, very clean Air Force 1 silhouette slash colorway, and that's kind of been a bit of a pattern in the last maybe 6 weeks that we've had these very sort of standard Air Force 1 silhouettes. Before that, we had some pretty funky stuff going on where they played with the construction a little bit. For example, the women's reveal with that white upper, and you rip that away to reveal that colourful upper below it. But then we had a run of really clean sort of Air Force 1 traditional sort of silhouettes, that classic look of 38 years, because 1982 was when these guys first dropped, and here we are 38 years later and they're still dropping in exactly the same way. So things like the Puerto Rico, which is worth talking about because that was a great shoe, something that people were looking forward to and excited about coming up, but it didn't actually happen and they pulled it. Rumour has it they pulled it because on the tongue, from the non-wearer's point of view, the flags were upside down, and that's got sort of undertones of revolution and stuff about it. From the wearer's point of view, of course, the flags were the right way round, but that's the rumour that they have for it. But whether or not that's true remains to be seen, a question. But they were pulled, the Puerto Ricos, very clean, simple white base with some detailing on top, and of course those Puerto Rican flags. But also, I mean, you can say the same for the South Korean sneakers that were due to drop in line with the soccer team for the Olympics. And then, of course, the Perspective, which was a great shoe. In terms of structure and silhouette, it was very much an Air Force 1, but in terms of materials, very unique in that one. And then here we are today with these two guys, very, very much in that sort of classic Air Force 1 mold. Very simple colouring, just two-tone colouring on both, white and red on one, white and black on the other. And we'll take a couple of looks right now at those shoes and the details on there that are of note, shall we say. The first thing I want to do though is it's hard to see. I'll zoom in on the angle there just so that you know what it looks like up there on the tongue branding with that black or red branding on white. But the thing about Air Force Ones, and this always bugs me, is they have the Nike Air branding at the top of the tongue, and then underneath that it says Air Force One, which sounds great, right? You know, it's a Nike Air sneaker. Yeah, cool. It's an Air Force One. Absolutely, put that up there. But then when you read it all as a one, it says Nike Air Force One. So it's Nike Air Force One, and then like Nike Air Force One. Why does it do that? It's a bit like the E on the back of Dunk Lows that's kind of squished down a little bit. It's sort of like, so Nike Air Force One. Today we'll be looking at the Nike Air Force One University Red. It doesn't quite do it for me. But anyway, that's up on the tongues, and you can see that branding up there where it is in that black on white or red on white, depending on which of the two shoes. And hopefully I'll be able to show you both on the green screen behind me here. And it's a motif that is also repeated. If we're staying with branding, we might as well go round to the heel and look at that, where you can see that black panel on the back of the black soles with the white Nike Air branding on there. And then if we switch that out, you'll see the red blocking with the white branding on it as well. So that matches kind of the sort of silhouette of the shoe. It's like the opposite of what's going on up on the tongues, where you've got white with black branding, and on the back you've got black with white branding. But it sort of matches the silhouette. But it's easy to go from those heels down the side of the shoe onto the swooshes, because it's important to note that the upper itself is a very clean white leather, and I can't see any real, what's the word, imperfections or variations on that upper. But then if we zoom in on the swoosh, you'll be able to see that the swoosh itself is actually a bit more textured than the upper itself, so it gives it a little bit more oomph. And that's kind of important to me, because the point of this video, one of the reasons I said in the title, was how's the quality on these Nike Air Force Ones, because when I first looked, especially at the reds, and if we look at the reds, full size, shall we say, I was like, ooh, that's cheap looking. And I got the impression, because especially around the sole, that it was a very sort of cheap, I don't know, like, it almost looked a bit translucent to me, and I was kind of like, that's but then when I zoomed in on them, I was like, oh, okay, so there's a bit more in the quality here. And we'll zoom on the red pair here and get a look at that swoosh, and you'll see that the swoosh does have a bit more in its textured leather there to give it a bit more of a quality feel to it. So from first glance and far away, they look like a very simple shoe and kind of basic in terms of their quality. But then when you zoom in, the leather itself is very, very smooth, and then you've got that textured, a little bit textured, not overly textured, but textured leather on the swoosh. And that brings us down to the signature feature of both shoes, which is the full size front to back, all one color midsole slash outsole on these guys, black on one, red on the other. We'll go with the reds first, because it's almost cherry red, but not quite. So it's a not quite cherry red outsole on these guys, which matches the swoosh and the branding up the top and stuff like that, which makes sense. So it's not meant to be cherry red, but cherry red is, it's cooler than any other red. So and then also, if we come up to the side, and we'll do this on the black ones, I suppose, since we already looked at the red outsole midsole unit, the black ones, you can see on the side they've got that Air branding on there in white on the black, and then the line that swooshes around the back side of the shoe. And then if we flip out again back to the reds, you'll see that the reds have that in white on the red background. Now, there was a shoe I did recently, an Air Force One. I remember I did like a week of Air Force Ones. It wasn't really a week of Air Force Ones, but it felt like that, because it was like there were like 4 or 5 Air Force Ones I did in the space in maybe 7 days. And I remember one of them, I can't remember which shoe it was though, but they didn't do what they've done here, which is to put the branding in a different color to the outsole and the midsole, so it has a bit of contrast and it pops off there. They had it be the same, and it kind of got lost. The branding got lost within the midsole there. I like it when the Air and the line that goes with it is in contrast to the midsole, so that you can really see it there. But I can't remember which shoe it was, because there were so many Air Force Ones at the channel recently. But I do like these guys having that contrast with white on the color, white branding on the contrasting color behind it, the background color behind it. So and then if we go back out and look at the shoe as a whole, anyway, it doesn't matter which one. Maybe I'll do that thing on the green screen where you can see both one after the other. They're really clean Air Force Force Ones, very simple, you know, a standard kind of colorway, but with that extra bit of pop on the midsole and outsole there, which is unusual. I wouldn't say rare, but unusual for Air Force Ones, and that's a real signature of these guys. I kind of like them. I mean, white shoes pretty hard to maintain and keep clean, but you know, they're still a clean shoe. They're still a cool shoe, and a very simple color, but it really respects the you know, the 38 years of Air Force One, that silhouette, simple colorway, which is what they're going with after some complicated stuff earlier in the year. So it's a great shoe. Hopefully people out there are going to go after it, you know, and hopefully the drop date is June the 27th. Watch this space, or yet to be decided, or subject to change, or whatever. For now though, time for me to sign off. Thank you guys for checking out the content. I do truly appreciate it. But I do need to get away and get this video tucked away. It's now Saturday afternoon and this is Sunday's video, so I better get it up there. So I'll just do what I do at the end of every single video, which is thank you guys for checking out the content. But as I do this every single day, that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.